In this video, we'll be learning about Punnett squares, basic inheritance. So let's start off with phenotypes. A phenotype is the physical traits that you can see, such as hair type, eye color, or freckles. So any kind of trait that you can physically see is the phenotype. Think phenotype, physical. Genotype is the genes that code for that trait. So genotype, gene. A gene is simply just a section of DNA that codes for a trait. So for example, this part represents hair type. This part is for eye color. This part is whether or not you have freckles. An allele is just a version of that gene. So for hair type, is it curly or wavy hair? Eye type, is it brown eyes or blue eyes? Freckles, does the person have freckles or do they not have freckles? Alleles are represented by two letters. They can either be dominant or recessive. A dominant allele is represented by two uppercase letters, while recessive alleles are represented by lowercase letters. The types of alleles. Homozygous dominant is represented by two uppercase alleles, or two uppercase letters. And because there are two dominant alleles, the trait will be expressed. Homozygous recessive is two lowercase alleles, and the trait will only be expressed if two of these alleles are recessive. So they need two lowercase letters in order for that trait to be expressed. Heterozygous is when there is one uppercase allele and one lowercase allele. So one uppercase, one lowercase. And the trait will be expressed if at least one of those alleles is dominant. Punnett squares are used to predict the chances of an offspring inheriting a trait. So the genotype of one parent is on the left-hand side, and the genotype of the other parent is at the top. And then everything else in the middle is for the offspring. So let's do a practice problem. A woman is homozygous recessive for blue eyes, and a man is heterozygous for brown eyes. What are the chances of them having a child with brown eyes? So if we set up the cross, so the woman is homozygous recessive. So that would be her genotype. The man is heterozygous. So this is his genotype. So when we set up the Punnett square, we simply just bring over the genotype. So one goes there, one goes there. And then for the other parent, they go at the top. So one there, one there. And now we bring down and we bring over. So dominant alleles always go in front of the lowercase allele, the recessive. So just like when you're writing a sentence, you always start off with an uppercase letter, followed by lowercase letters. Same thing with a Punnett square. The uppercase letter always goes in front of the lowercase letter. So now we bring down, we bring over, we bring down, we bring over, we bring down, and we bring over. Okay, so that's what the outcome should look like. So now we want to know, what are the chances of them having a child with brown eyes? So if brown eyes is a dominant trait, and we have two of these squares with at least one dominant allele present, there is a 50% chance, or 2 out of 4 chances, that they will have a child with brown eyes. Let's try another practice. Curly hair is a dominant trait. If a man and a woman are both heterozygous for curly hair, what is the probability that they will have a child with curly hair? So we set up the cross. They are both heterozygous, so they each get one uppercase and one lowercase. So now we just set up the Punnett square. One parent's genotype goes here, one parent's genotype goes there at the top. And now we just fill in the middle. So we bring down, we bring over, bring down, bring over, bring down, bring over, bring down, and bring over. And again, uppercase always goes in front of lowercase. So now what is the probability that they will have a child with curly hair, which is a dominant trait? While 3 squares have at least one dominant allele present. This one has 2 dominant alleles. These ones only have 1 dominant allele. So because it's a dominant trait, 75% chance, or 3 out of 4 chances, that they will have a child with curly hair. Now for sex-linked traits. If you're a female, then you have 2 X chromosomes. If you're a male, you have an X and a Y chromosome. X-linked traits only affect the X chromosomes. So for example, an X-linked dominant trait is represented by 2 uppercase alleles. Or for a male, there's only 1 uppercase allele. So for X-linked traits that are dominant, then this person will have that trait if at least 1 dominant allele is present. X-linked recessive traits are represented by lowercase alleles, lowercase letters. So as long as there is a recessive allele present, then that person will have that trait. X-linked carriers, or heterozygous, so they have 1 uppercase and 1 lowercase allele. Men are not carriers because they only have 1 X chromosome, but in order to be a carrier or heterozygous, there needs to be 2. There needs to be 1 uppercase and 1 lowercase. So let's try a practice. Hemophilia is an X-linked recessive disorder. If a man with hemophilia falls in love with a woman who does not have hemophilia, what are the chances that they will have a child with hemophilia? So we set up the cross. So a man with hemophilia, which is a recessive trait, so he has it, so it's represented by the lowercase allele, and he falls in love with a woman who does not have that trait. So she's going to have 2 dominant alleles. So now when we set up the Punnett square, one parent goes here, in this case the father, and the mother's goes up here at the top, the other parent. So now when we set up the Punnett square, so just like in the other problems we did, we bring down the dominant trait and we bring over the recessive trait. And again, uppercase always goes in front of the lowercase. So now, what are the chances that they will have a child with hemophilia? So because it is an X-linked recessive disorder, they will not have a child with hemophilia. 0 chance. But if they have a daughter, then she will be a carrier for hemophilia. But the sons, for example, they will not have this disorder and they cannot be a carrier. So because it's an X-linked recessive trait, they would need the recessive allele in order to have that trait. And let's try one more problem. Color blindness is an X-linked recessive trait. If a man who is not colorblind falls in love with a woman who is a carrier for color blindness, what are the chances that they will have a child who is colorblind? So these would be the genotype for these people. So the man who is not colorblind, so he has a dominant allele because he does not have that trait and it is a recessive trait. The woman is a carrier, so she's heterozygous, so she has 1 dominant and 1 recessive. So now we set up the Punnett square. So the man's and the woman's genotype. And now we bring down and we bring over. So what are the chances that they will have a child who is colorblind? They will have only 1% chance, only a 25% chance, or 1 out of 4 chances that they will have a child with color blindness. So out of their daughters, only a 50% chance, 1 out of 2 of their daughters will be a carrier. And out of their sons, only 1 out of 2 or 50% of their sons will have it because it is a recessive trait. So you need at least 1 recessive allele. So in this case, their son will have it if he has at least 1 recessive allele because there's only 1 allele. So in this example, he will have it. And the females, their daughters, might be a carrier. So even though that recessive allele is present, there's still that dominant allele there. So this daughter will not have it. I hope you found that helpful.